Hey there, Rob Subbeck here again at Dawn's Appliances in Cannonsburg, joined with my dear friend.
James Hayes.
And today we are talking about trendy appliances. Are they worth it? What's out there? Should you go trendy, longevity, reliability, somewhere in between? And James is a real edgy guy, so I've really thought that talking to him about buying trendy things, if it's a good idea or not, would be a smart one. So, James, open us up. Trendy appliances.
So to that extent, there are different classifications of trendy. So I tend to be drawn to a couple of brands that tend to be very modern in aesthetic. But I feel like in those situations, you're not sacrificing function over form. You know, if you look at a brand like Gaggenau, it's like a piece of art in your kitchen, but it also has helped. They're co-designed with Michelin star chefs, so they're very function forward. They just happen to be pretty while they do it.
See, edgy.
Yeah,
I told you.
And then Miele falls into that same category. But there are plenty of other brands out there where they're pretty. You know, there's some range companies out there that do all the fun colors and all the fun hardware options, and they have a very kind of European aesthetic to them. And those are very much form over function kind of products.
For a vast majority of them
For
are.
most, yes.
And they are very popular with kitchen designers. And, you know, whether it be anywhere from a Z-line to a La Cornue, you know, they're these French, country, Italian, European, whatever, however you want to classify it. There are a lot of options there. A lot of it is hyper fixated on finishes, on hardware, but where you can run into is back-end service. Is there any? Part support, is there any?
Yeah.
Whenever it comes with a warranty. Who's the one who's going to be backing it? You know, and then additionally at the top end of the spectrum, look at that size. There's nothing else on the market that size.
Yeah.
You can really going with trendy can be costly, you know,
Yeah,
depending
100%.
on you got to replace it a lot sooner, or you can't get it fixed, or whenever even if it's a long time from now, like going and trying to find a 43-inch range. You know, you present yourself with problems, whether they be really soon or much later. If it's your forever home or you're going to be there a long time, you really have to think about does this trend fit in a space where something that isn't in trend right now will fit later.
Sure, and that's a question that I ask my customers when they're making some of these selections. You know, is like, how much do you cook? Do you cook a lot? Maybe that isn't the product line for you, right? So, and it could look really pretty. And if you're the sort, I mean, I had a customer just spend $25,000 on a Blue Star range. Trust me, like that thing is built like a tank and will last forever. But they also told me that they don't cook; they just wanted something pretty in there. So
shout out to you.
Yeah. So and it will 100% look beautiful. But there are plenty of other products out there that look really pretty that aren't in that price point, but they just aren't going to be built to hold up the same way. Really small ovens on a lot of those. You know, there's a brand of 48-inch range out there where by the time you combine their two ovens together, it's smaller than a 30-inch Whirlpool freestanding range oven.
Well, yeah. 5 total cubic feet in a 48-inch range.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you can get that in a $699 GE freestanding range.
Yeah, so it depends, you know, on what's important to you. So if you're looking for pretty and aesthetic and you're not going to be using it a whole lot, then sure.
But even to that point, not using it a whole lot, you know, it doesn't really, the shelf life of an appliance, it really doesn't seem like, the analytics don't say that how much you use it affects how much longer it's good. Because, I mean, how many calls do you take about a customer with a second home, a rental property, whatever the case may be, where it's like, we've ran this dishwasher 10 times in 3 years and it needs a new motor, pump, and board. And it's just like, you know, how can you really explain that? So how often you use it doesn't really matter. Like when it got built is what matters.
That's true. Yeah, 100%. And as I said, you really just kind of got to decide. And there are some brands, if you're looking for some, like, you know, a different aesthetic and you're looking for some other color options, a brand like Cafe, there's some different looks you can do. You can play around with your hardware color. They have like 5 or 6 different hardware colors now, and you can do matte white and matte black. And in general, they're fairly good products. So,
yeah, absolutely.
But you touched on like, I hate calling out specific brands, but you touched on a brand like Z-Line or something.
I love calling out specific brands.
Yeah. So and they have a ton of color and hardware options and all these other things, but year one, if you have an issue with it, like we're not a servicer for it, you can technically order it through us, but there's no one to fix it for you when you run into an issue. So that's something to really consider when you're making that selection as well.
Right. And to that, whenever it comes to trends, they're just speaking to the design community right now. I had a discussion with the designer yesterday of we are still very much in an age of we hear about honey bronze in the cabinet hardware. We hear about champagne bronze and Lux Gold in faucets, light fixtures, pot fillers, things of that nature. And all these bronzes, all these brasses, they are all different.
Yes.
And some brands coincide, like Kohler and Monogram kind of came together to come up with whatever they call it. I don't even know, but gold or something. But it's all matching, and they wanted it to be a collection. So people who are doing these brasses, these bronzes, whatever variation of them, it's a very difficult game to play, but we're very much in a mixed metal lifetime of design right now too, where you're having stainless and brasses and bronzes, and they're all just kind of slammed in there, and they can look cohesive and they can look nice. But if you have an eye for details, you really have to be careful about what appliance you're coming in and choosing, because I've gotten that call about hardware on whether it be Cafe or Wolf Knobs or Blue Star, that they were like, I thought it was a direct match to my hardware, and it's like, we aren't part of your hardware selection for cabinetry.
We can be, but it's not something we typically get into.
Yeah, buying it from the appliance store typically isn't what most people are thinking.
No, it's 100%. Waterstone has a lot of hardware selections and like 30 different finishes, and I have used them to help match some of that stuff up before. But it really depends on the conversation you have with us at the time, and even then, it's still not going to be a direct one-to-one match your appliance hardware, because appliance companies typically have just a couple. So trying to match that up can be difficult.
Yeah, customization is such a loose term. You hear the word custom in this industry a lot, and really all that we truly can customize is Blue Star products and range hoods. Outside of that, like, I wouldn't call anything else that we sell custom. Outside of like building a crazy cooktop setup with a bunch of the Vario cooktops in Gaggenau or something along those lines. But even then, like, they are this dimension, the cooktop is set up this way, there is no modifying, there is no changing. Whereas Blue Star will print a tapestry on the front of your range if you want, but you're going to pay for it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And then custom hoods and stuff are an option and things too, but even then there's a limited selection and what's available. So I guess in recap, yes, that you can choose like form over function if that's what you want to do, and you can have a specific look. Does that necessarily translate to a better product for you? In most cases, probably not. But the option exists out there. So
there are many options that ride the line between quality and trendy. So it's okay to get trendy, but you really have to be forward thinking, whether it's about you, who buys your home next, whatever the case may be, your kids, whatever. But you got to think about the future and make sure you can get something else later.
100%. All right. And if you want to know more about some of these appliance lines, there's a ton of them out there. Check out donsappliances.com or come see me and Rob.